Kindlekid presents the Runaway Iceberg. Land ahoy, shouted Rossi, looking out to sea with her telescope. Shall we dive in and explore, Captain? You know I don't like swimming, Gasper said with a sigh. Suddenly, a cracking sound came from below them. Before they had realized what was happening, a chunk of ice had broken off and Gasper and Rossi were floating out to sea on an iceberg. Quick, swim, shouted Rossi. But Gasper was afraid. I can't, he cried, peering into the deep, dark sea below. The iceberg floated out farther and farther until they could no longer see land. What are we going to do? Asked Gasper, trembling. How will we ever get back? We're brave explorers, remember, said Rossi, holding Gasper's flippers. We will find a way. Gasper took a deep breath. I guess we could use our flippers to row back, he said. But which way is home? Lift me up, said Rossi. She climbed onto Gasper's head. But she was still not high enough to see land. Try jumping, she suggested, giving him a little nudge with her foot. Gasper jumped, and they both landed on the ice with a thud. Need some help finding your way? Asked Asno. Petrol from above. Oh, yes, please, called Gasper. Which way is land? It's this way, called the snow petrel, flying high above them. Gasper and Rossi used their flippers to row as hard as they could, but the current kept pushing them the wrong way. Need us to give you a push? Asked an Antarctic silverfish from below. Oh, yes, please, called Gasper. The silverfish pushed the iceberg along. Until suddenly, it became stuck. We'll never get through here, exclaimed Gasper. Need some help breaking through the ice? Asked a blue whale from the deep. With a huge flip of its tail, the whale smashed the ice and cleared the way. Gasper and Rossi bobbed along behind it, glad to finally be on their way back to safety. Land ahoy, squawked the snow petrel. It's all been a great adventure, said Rossi, grinning. We're just like real explorers. The sun shone brightly in the sky as Gasper and Rossi headed for home. Hey, stick to your side, Captain, laughed Rossi, as Gasper's tail feathers tickled her feet. The two penguins turned to face each other in shock. The iceberg was getting smaller and smaller. It's melting, shrieked Gasper. We need to move faster. I'm right on the edge, grumbled Gasper. The silverfish swam quicker, and the blue whale helped to push. But the ice was melting too fast. We'll have to swim from here, said Rossi. You can do this, Gasper. I know you can. You are the captain. After all, the silverfish started to cheer. Gasper, Gasper, Gasper. Soon, everyone had joined in, and Gasper began to feel braver. Gasper gulped. Then, with one big jump, he splashed into the water. Beerah, he spluttered. It's so chilly. Use your flippers, shouted Rossi as she dived in over Gasper's head. We, said Rossi, as she headed for home. Gasper flapped his flippers and followed nervously behind. It wasn't long before Rossi and Gasper were back home with their families. You did it, Captain, said Rossi. You got us through our most dangerous adventure yet. I guess I did, agreed Gasper, feeling proud. But I couldn't have done it without my trusty first mate. Thank you for watching the video.
Kindlekid presents The Boy and the Rainbow. The boy didn't mind the rain. But the grey sky made him long for the world to be colourful again. As if his wish had been heard, a golden sunbeam broke through the clouds. With it came a flash of light on the ground beside the trees. The boy picked up a sparkling key. Then, he spotted a rather unusual creature searching by a tree stump. Oh, raindrops, said the creature. Where could it be? Are you looking for this? Asked the boy. You found it, cried the creature. Now, I can unlock the rainbow. Unlock a rainbow, gasped the boy. Watch the key. It will guide us as we unlock each of the colors, said the creature. Every time it changes, a new magical door will be revealed. The boy stared as the key turned red and a shimmering door appeared. Step inside, called the creature. Welcome to Red, said the creature. The boy ran into the red world excitedly. Rows of giant toadstools lined a winding path of red brick. They hopped from one to another as red parrots raced above them. The boy breathed in the strawberry breeze and smiled. A few moments later, the key turned orange and the next door appeared. The boy giggled as a group of friendly tiger cubs tumbled around him. A snippy little crab waved as it carved pumpkins with a grin. The boy stared at the warm orange sunset and wished he could stay forever. But soon, the key turned yellow and the next door appeared. The sun was high in the sky. Beneath the boy's feet was warm sand. He sat under a giant daffodil and munched on bananas, melon, and mango. The boy closed his eyes and listened to the song of a canary. Before long, the key turned green and the next door appeared. They stepped out onto a springy bed of moss. The boy was filled with joy as they bounced higher and higher. Vines tickled their heads and they grabbed one each to swing on. The scent of freshly mown grass drifted around the boy's nose. After a little while, the key turned blue and the next door appeared. They walked out onto a jetty. The cool ocean was so inviting that they dived straight in. They floated in the water calmly as fish and whales swam beneath them. The boy had never seen the sky so clear. Then, the key turned indigo and the next door appeared. The sky was dark and the smell of blueberries filled the air. The boy walked over smooth pebbles that led to a river of ink. He dipped his finger in and drew patterns on the stones. The boy did not want to leave, but the next color needed to be unlocked. Finally, the key turned violet and the next door appeared. The boy was amazed to see a vast meadow of flowers. The lovely scent of lavender wafted up his nose. Rocks made of quartz formed a pool with starfish dancing in the water. Petals fluttered down from the sky like snowflakes and the boy lay on the ground, watching the flurry. The key lost its colorful glow and the door that led back home appeared. Every door has been unlocked, said the creature. All the colors have been set free. What happens now? Asked the boy as he stepped out of the door and found himself back in his garden. Now, we look up, smiled the creature. There it was. The most beautiful rainbow the boy had ever seen. And the world was colorful once more.
Kindlekid presents The Boy Who Cried Wolf. There was once a boy who looked after sheep. The boy was bored. One day, he played a trick on the villagers. The boy cried out that there was a wolf attacking his sheep, even though there wasn't. The villagers came up the hill to save the sheep. When they got there, there was no wolf. The boy laughed at them. "You must not tell lies," said the villagers. They went back to the village. Soon the boy was bored again. He shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers rushed up the hill to save the sheep. When they got there, there was no wolf again. The boy laughed at them again. "You must not tell lies," shouted the villagers. They went back down to the village. Later that day, a wolf did come into the field. The boy shouted and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" This time no one came to help, and the wolf ate all of the sheep. The moral of the story is, if you tell lies, people won't believe you when you do tell the truth. Thank you for watching the video. This is end of the story. See you next time.
Kindlekids presents Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack. Jack lived in a cottage with his mother. They were very poor, and their most valuable possession was a cow. One day, Jack's mother asked him to take the cow to market to sell. On the way, Jack met a man who gave him some magic beans in exchange for the cow. When Jack came home with the beans, his mother was angry. She threw the beans out the window and sent him to bed. The next morning, Jack looked out the window. A giant beanstalk had grown in the garden. Jack decided to climb the beanstalk. It was so tall it went right up to the sky and through the clouds. When Jack finally reached the top, he saw an enormous castle. Jack decided to go inside. All the furniture was huge. Suddenly, Jack heard a loud noise. He ran into a cupboard to hide. An enormous giant came into the room. "Fee, fee, faw, thumb, I smell the blood of an Englishman," he bellowed. The giant sat down at the table. On the table was a hen and a golden harp. "Lay," said the giant. The hen laid an egg. It was made out of solid gold. "Sing," said the giant. The harp sang. The giant fell asleep. Jack jumped out of the cupboard and took the hen and the harp. As Jack ran, the harp cried, "Help, master!" The giant woke up and called, "Fee, fee, faw, thumb, I smell the blood of an Englishman." He chased Jack to the top of the beanstalk. Jack climbed down the beanstalk, and the giant followed him. Jack got to the bottom of the beanstalk, he shouted, "Help!" Jack's mother came out with an axe. She used it to chop the bottom of the beanstalk. The giant fell and crashed to the ground. He was never seen again. With the golden eggs and the magic harp, Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe.